Hi everyone. If you clicked on this video, it's probably because you are a Florida family that is interested or wants to learn more about homeschooling in Florida. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Margie Figueroa. I am a certified educator of almost 20 years. I'm also a homeschool mom, and I provide homeschool consultations, mentoring, and coaching, as well as online tutoring to homeschool families. So I'm so happy that you're tuning in today. You're going to learn so much about homeschooling in Florida. So let's go ahead and get started. So homeschooling in Florida, this is a basic overview of what you need to know in order to get started. So things about funding and legalities, legal requirements, things like that is what this video entails. If you are interested in learning more about curriculum or what's the best curriculum for your child, click the link in the comments to schedule a free consultation, and I'd be more than happy to help you with that. But just to give you a quick overview, this is what the video is about, what you need to know about homeschooling in Florida. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So just like I said a little while ago, I'm a certified teacher. I've been certified for almost 20 years, so I'm probably at around year 17, something like that. I've been married for 15 years, and I have two kids. I'm a homeschool mom. One of my children is 14 and the other one is 9. So I was in the classroom for 13 years as a classroom teacher, but I also did some instructional coaching. And now I have my own educational service business, going on 3 years now. And so I provide online tutoring for kids ages 5 through 12 in reading, writing, math, and Spanish. I also mentor other educators if they want to start their own tutoring business or they're interested in creating their own business from home as an educator. So what I'm going to cover today in this video is the Florida homeschool laws and requirements, the step-by-step process on how to get started on homeschooling, testing and evaluations and what is required for testing and evaluations, as well as some of the scholarships that you have available to you as homeschool families, and the resources and support that I provide, which will help you throughout your homeschooling journey. So here's the basics about Florida homeschooling. So pretty much an overview, right? So Florida recognizes homeschooling as a legal option. You have the right as a parent to homeschool your child. Now, you do take full responsibility for your child's education. So that gives you some flexibility. It gives you some flexibility to choose your setting, to choose your curriculum, the pace that they're learning, as well as their learning style. So here's where it gets a little bit more detailed, okay? So as a Florida homeschooler, you can be classified in two different ways. They're kind of like umbrellas, like you see here on the screen. So you might be under the traditional homeschooling classification or the scholarship umbrella or classification. Under the traditional classification, you would report to the district. So depending on what county you live in Florida, that's who you report to. Okay, and through the traditional classification, you are self-funded. So any kind of curriculum, tutoring, instructional materials, extracurricular, anything that you provide your child and how you shape your child's homeschooling, you will fund it yourself. It is self-funded. Okay, and Florida does require, excuse me, an annual evaluation. Let me take a sip of water here, just really quick. So Florida does require an annual evaluation. There's different options that you have as far as how your child can be evaluated, and that I will cover later on in the video. And then you have the classification of scholarship, the scholarship classification or umbrella. So in this classification or umbrella, you would report to Step Up. Step Up is a state organization that provides funding, okay, and scholarships. Or in some cases, depending on which scholarship your child is receiving, you might have to report to the district. It just depends on the scholarship that they have. And again, we'll go over that in more detail in just a bit later on in the video. And through the scholarship classification, you are state funded. So the state will provide you with funds to buy curriculum, instructional materials, tutoring, things like that. And then one thing that the scholarship classification requires is a student learning plan. It's basically, and it's also called an SLP as an acronym. So basically, it's a form that you would fill out for Step Up and you would turn into this organization, the Step Up organization, letting them know what is your plan and how you're going to educate your child. It's an overview. They don't, they won't ask you for some sort of concluding report or concluding student learning plan. Um, it's just a form to fill out at the beginning of the school year, letting them know, just an overview of what you're going to be doing and what your plan is for the school year. Now, there's two types of scholarships under this umbrella. There is the PEP scholarship, which is the personal education plan. And again, I'm going to go into more detail about these scholarships in a later point of this video. But it does require norm reference testing. So an approved test the child will have to take annually, and you would have to turn in those scores to Step Up. Okay, and then the other type of scholarship that homeschool families might be eligible for is the UA, or the Unique Abilities Scholarship. This scholarship requires an annual evaluation, just like the traditional classification. Okay, and again, we'll go into more detail about these two scholarships later on in the video, so just stay tuned. So here are the legal requirements. Now, these legal requirements are both under the traditional classification and the scholarship. Not both scholarships, just the UA, as you see here on the screen. So the age requirement. The age requirement for enrolling your child as a homeschooling student is age 6 before February 1st of that year. Okay, I know this can be a little bit confusing. So I listed birth dates and when you should enroll your child in homeschooling to help you as reference. So if your child, let's say, was born on, let's say, May 25th, 2018, then you would have to enroll them for the 25-26 school year. Okay, just as an example. So this is a list of dates and ranges to help you figure out when you should enroll your child in home education. And when I use the word enroll, I mean inform the district that you will be homeschooling them. Okay, it's not that you're enrolling them in school per se, but you're enrolling them in your homeschool. And there's a specific form that you would send to the district, which we will talk about, and I will show you what it looks like in just a bit. Another legal requirement is part of enrolling them, right? Letting the district know that you are homeschooling. And this is the part where you establish a home education program. So when I say homeschool and I say home education, it's interchangeable. I mean the same thing. Homeschooling and home education is the same thing, at least in this video. So you will submit a letter of intent to the superintendent of your school district. So depending on where you live, you would send it to the county office, public school office. So if you live in Monroe County, you would send it to the Monroe County District Home Education Office. If you live in Orange County, you will send your letter of intent to the Orange County Home Education District Office. Okay, so I have as an example here Miami-Dade County. So if you decide that you will start your home education program at home, let's say August 20th, just to say a date, then you would have to enroll or send a letter of intent to the district within those 30 days. So it can be a little bit before August 20th or all the way up to September, mid-September. So you would have 30 days from the day that you establish your home education program. I always give a suggestion to send it at least a week prior. So if a If your starting date for your home education program is August 20th, and again, I don't have a calendar in front of me, this is just a date that sticks out to me, then I would send it at around August 13th, so about a week prior. Giving the home education office, it doesn't matter what kind, but giving the home education office some time to process the letter of intent and get back to you and let you know the day that your evaluation is due, which we will get into in just a little bit later on in the video. Okay. All right, so here on this slide, before I forget, I have the example of Miami-Dade County Public Schools. So we have an email address as well as a postal address. So I always suggest to parents, send it both ways. So make 2 copies of this letter of intent form once you fill it out and sign it, and send it to the home, scan it, and send it through email to your district office, this one being the Miami-Dade County Public Schools home education office, and send it in the mail as well. I sometimes tell parents, send it certified so that you can get proof that it was sent and that they received it. And that's optional. That's totally up to you. And always keep a copy. That's that second copy. So you fill out both copies, you sign both copies, scan and email and send in the mail, and then keep the second copy for your reference. And here is an example of the Miami-Dade County Public Schools letter of intent. This is provided by the county. And so if you're like me, if they provide you with one, use the one that they provide. So if you need to scan this, go ahead and scan it. And if you are in Miami-Dade County, this is what it looks like, the letter of intent letter. This is the one that they provide to you to fill out. Again, the safe way to do this is to fill out the one that is provided, no matter what county you live in. Why? Because you might write a letter of intent and maybe you forget to provide some sort of information that you know or that they're asking for. And using the county provided letter of intent kind of avoids the issue of you sending the letter and missing some information. So again, the letter of intent should be done by traditional homeschooling, meaning self-funded, no scholarship, or if your child has the Unique Abilities Scholarship. This is another example of a letter of intent template. This is directly from the FPEA, a very, very prestigious and organization for homeschooling families. I do recommend that you look into the FPEA. It's a wonderful organization and they provide a lot of help and a lot of support for home education families. So this is another example of a letter of intent. If you do not live in the Miami-Dade County Public School District, you can use this letter as well. And this letter works with all counties, all districts in Florida. And again, I provide you with the QR code there so that you can scan it for easy access. So now here's another legal requirement, the annual evaluation. So the annual evaluation is due each year on the anniversary of the letter of intent. So for example, going back to the previous example that I gave, if you decide that you would like to start homeschooling on August 20th, then your annual evaluation should be due the year after. So for example, if you're starting August 20th, 2025, then your annual evaluation should be due 1 year after, which would be August 20th, 2026. So it is due each year on the anniversary of your letter of intent. Miami-Dade County Public Schools specifically will respond to your letter of intent once you send it and let you know what day it's due. Miami-Dade County Public Schools is good with that. I am not familiar with the other counties in Florida, but if you have any confusion, just contact them, call them, and they will tell you. Or you always have that backup, that extra copy that you kept as kind of like proof and as reference to know when your annual evaluation is due. So on the anniversary of the letter, or I always suggest at least 2 weeks prior to the anniversary, you will submit your yearly evaluation to the district, okay? You would submit it to the district. And again, like I said before, you would submit it in several ways. Email, and through a certified letter. For the annual evaluation, I do strongly suggest you send it as a certified letter so you have proof that you sent it and they received it. Okay, now don't get scared about an annual evaluation. An annual evaluation is not like testing in a school where the child has to reach a certain grade level or reach certain milestones or master certain skills or standards. That's not what an annual evaluation is about. An annual evaluation should show progress. So if your child is at point A, they need to be at another point or at point B to show some sort of progress, even if they are not at grade level. Okay, that's the way that I evaluate students, home education students. I look for progress, which is what the law states. The law does not state that the child has to be on grade level. It states that the child needs to show progress. Okay. And this specifically, the annual evaluation, applies for children under the traditional homeschooling classification and for students who receive the Unique Abilities Scholarship, which again, I will go over in just a bit. So the evaluation form is to be filled out by an evaluator. A child psychologist can be an evaluator as well as a certified teacher. Me specifically, I am a certified teacher. So if this is something that you need help with, then you can comment below, or at the end of this video, I share my contact information and it's also in the description of the video. You can contact me and we can arrange an evaluation, whether it's online, because I have that option online, or if you're local in South Florida, we can do that in person. So the evaluation form is to be filled out by the evaluator, so a child psychologist or a certified teacher. The parent keeps one copy and sends the copy via email and postal mail. In this case, this site says MDCPS, which is Miami-Dade County Public Schools, but whatever district that you are part of in Florida, it is the same law. It's the same the same thing applies. Like I said before, I always suggest keep a copy for yourself. Email one by scanning it, scan an email and send it certified as well. All right, so now, what are your options for an annual evaluation? Like I stated prior, the child must show progress. So how are they going to show progress, right? So here are your options. According to Florida law, as of today, which today is May 1st, 2025. So as of today, Florida law states that you can have a portfolio review and a discussion with the student by a certified teacher. So I will go over in just a little bit how you can put together a portfolio. But the certified teacher, or if I'm doing the evaluation, this is how I do it. Every certified teacher, every evaluator might be a little different, but this is how I do it. I take the portfolio and I look through it and I make sure that whenever they started, again, let's say it's August 20th, to the day that I'm evaluating, let's say it's in June, that there is some sort of progress. The child has gained skills, the child has improved. There's some sort of improvement and they have gained skills and shown progress in the main core subjects. So reading, writing, language arts, science, social studies, and math. Okay, so I look for progress. Or if you don't want a certified teacher to review their portfolio and discuss anything with them, then they will take a test. You can have them take a norm reference test, and it must be administered by a certified teacher. If you don't have a portfolio, or you decide not to keep a portfolio, which by the way, you should, that's a huge, it shows progress and it shows their work throughout the year. So I'm a big proponent of portfolios, regardless of how you decide to evaluate them. But norm reference testing administered by a certified teacher. These specific tests have to be approved by the Florida Department of Education, and there's a website where those are listed. Or you can take them to take the state assessment at your zone school. So whatever school you are assigned according to your address, that's where they will take their state assessment. So those are your first three. And then the last option that you have for evaluating is a psychological evaluation. And of course, that needs to be done by a certified psychologist. All right, so here's an example of an annual evaluation template. This one specifically is for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Again, if it's provided, I always tell the parents use what's provided so that you make sure that you have all the information that they need. So if your county provides this, I would suggest you use these templates so that you don't leave any kind of information out. So this is what it looks like for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. And again, this is for families that are under traditional homeschooling that report to the district, as well as any unique abilities scholarship recipients. Not personalized education plan. You do not need this form for that scholarship. I will go over what you need for that in just later on in the video. And here is an example of the FPEA annual evaluation template. Again, a very prestigious organization. So if you want to use this one's general for all of Florida and not specifically to Miami-Dade. You can use this for any district in Florida. All right, so here are the legal requirements. The legal requirement is to maintain a portfolio. So this is part of the annual evaluation if this is how you decide you want your child to be evaluated. So what goes into this portfolio? I tell parents, buy a binder, buy one of those big 3-inch binders, buy several if you need to. And then you place in the binder dividers. You place in there dividers and you label the dividers by subject. Reading, writing, grammar, or language arts, math, science, social studies. You label them. And behind each of those dividers, you place their work. And you make sure that the work is in chronological order. So the first page that the certified teacher should see, or me, if I'm your evaluator, is the first page they did throughout the school year, right? So if you started August 20th, then that first page should say August 20th on it with the child's name. So just make sure everything is dated, organized in chronological order by subject. So you might have to get a pack of dividers. And I don't need to see as an evaluator all of the pages that they did throughout the year for every subject. All I will be looking for is a few from the beginning of the school year, a few from the middle, and a few from the end for every subject. So if you started August 20th, you can leave some of their work from August 20th until about end of September, and then maybe December through January, and then May through June. And that's it if you do 10-month school years. But if you do year round, then from August to, I would say, yeah, end of September, then you can do a few months after and like that. So from beginning, from the middle, and the end. And then I will look for progress in each of the subjects. Okay, making sure that they acquired skills, not making sure they're on grade level, just making sure they're acquiring skills throughout every subject. I will also look for a reading log. Okay, and again, this is legal. This is a legal requirement. This is not a Margie requirement. This is a legal requirement. I'll also look for a reading log. It's basically a list of books read throughout the year with dates. So if they read The Cat in the Hat in August and they read it 5 times, that's okay. Just make sure you write a range of dates. So they read it from August 20th until August or until September 1st. And that's okay that they repeat books. I'm not really looking for amount of books. I'm just making sure that they're reading throughout the school year. And let's see, and then a log of educational activities. This is where parents get a little bit confused as far as educational activities. They think that educational activities always it is as straightforward, but it is, has to do with workbooks and pages and papers that they fill out, but it's not necessarily that. A log of educational activities is more of what they do out of the core subjects that are not such straightforward activities. I'll give you some examples. Examples such as, or educational activities such as field trips, if they go to a museum, if you take them to the zoo, if they go on vacation, maybe you go visit a new place. Those are all educational activities. They're extracurricular activities. If they're part of a football team, or if they take jujitsu classes or music classes, those are all educational activities. If they like to cook with you, they like to help you cook and measure and things like that and mix, those are all educational activities. If they watch some sort of documentary, if they're older, they watch a documentary on World War II, let's say, that's an educational activity. If they're learning about current events, and again, they're reading articles that have to do with current events or things like that, those are educational activities. So any activities that are beyond the core subjects, and make sure that you provide dates. Okay, make sure you provide dates. And this portfolio must be kept for 2 years. Again, this is a Florida law, so it must be kept for 2 years. So what kind of portfolios are there? So I had mentioned a binder. It doesn't always have to be a binder or a folder. You can also have a box or a crate with folders that are divided by subject. My preference as an evaluator is for them to be separated by subject, not by date. So some parents like to do all the August, all the September, all the October, etc. But it's easier for me as an evaluator to see progress in a subject if they are organized by subject, not by date. So if you do decide to do a box or a crate and you decide for me to be your evaluator, then please make sure that it is still separated by subject, okay? So some parents use a binder, a folder, a box, or a crate. Usually if they use a box or a crate, it's because the child has filled out more workbooks, and that's okay. Workbooks are okay, and that's the way that they decide to organize them, in a box or a crate. Again, divided by subject. Or sometimes I've had a couple of parents that have done digital portfolios and Google Drive, or they place everything on a website. That is okay too, as long as everything is organized in folders. So if you decide to do a digital portfolio, that's okay. Just make sure things are organized by subject and that there are dates on everything. So you might want to scan everything and put it on a Google Drive. That's fine. You might want to take pictures instead of having an actual log for educational activities. That's okay. Just make sure there's dates. You might decide to do your reading log as pictures and take pictures of your child reading the books from the reading log. That's totally okay too. Just make sure it's organized in the Google Drive and with dates. And now we're going to get into the scholarship opportunities. So the scholarship opportunities as of today, May 1st, 2025. The first one you have is the Personalized Education Plan, or the PEP. Now, this specific scholarship is for Florida residents. It is for general education students that are not enrolled in public or private school. So this is a homeschool scholarship, specifically only for homeschool. So a child that is eligible for the PEP should be 5 years old by September 1st through grade 12. Okay, so September 1st of that year that you're going to apply for the scholarship is what that means. So the benefits as of today, May 1st, 2025, is that your child may be eligible and may receive $8,000 or more in annual education funding. That budget will be approved by July 1st of this year. They're hoping for before, but the cutoff is July 1st. The deadline for the governor to sign the budget is July 1st. And these funds can be used for curriculum, for instructional materials, for educational apps, classes, tutoring, enrichment programs, and more. There are many, many products, many subscription boxes, many curriculums, many providers, tutoring providers, class providers, home education providers, all in that are approved for this to use the funding for. But what does it require? I kind of went over this at the beginning where you saw the graphic of the umbrellas. It requires the student learning plan, which is a quick form, just letting them know what your plan is for the school year. And it has drop downs, so it's very easy to fill out. And the annual norm reference assessment. Now, let me touch upon that really quick. The annual norm reference assessment is different from the annual evaluation that I just showed you. It's completely different. So the annual evaluation that we just spoke about with the binder and the crate and all of that is not required for a PEP recipient. Okay, the norm reference assessment is a list. You get to choose from a list of tests that are approved by the Florida Department of Education, and you as the parent will administer the tests to your child. If you decide that that you would prefer a certified teacher to administer the test, you have that option as well. That's totally up to you. So here is the handbook as of now. As of today, the 2025-2026 handbook has not been released, but I know they are making some changes, especially to the purchasing guide, but you can take a look at the 2024-2025 handbook just as a reference. They are using this as a starting point to kind of revise a few things for next school year, but if you want to go ahead and take a look at it and get to know the scholarship, here's the QR code. And here's the other scholarship that homeschool students are eligible for or may be eligible for. So for the unique abilities or the UA, the child is eligible if they are a Florida resident, if they have a documented diagnosis of a qualified disability, or if they are age 3 or older. So the difference between the PEP and the UA, the PEP, they qualify when they're 5, the UA, they qualify when they're 3. But they must have a documented diagnosis of a qualifying disability. I believe in the next slide, there's a QR code for the handbook for this scholarship. And in that handbook, there is a list of what of the qualifying disabilities. Let me take a little sip of water before I continue. Okay, so some of the examples of the qualifying disabilities are ASD, ADHD, or Down syndrome. There's other qualifying disabilities such as speech and things like that. But again, on the next slide, I will show you a QR code and you can go ahead and find the page where it has the list of qualifying disabilities. And they are eligible if they are 3 or older. So you can apply as young as 3. But just because your child is 10 or 12 doesn't mean that they're not eligible. They are eligible or they can be eligible as young as 3. All right, so what are the benefits? Well, the annual funding amount is calculated based on the child's age, county, and level of special education. So today, May 1st, 2025, in my experience, the average amount that a child can be awarded is about $9,000. And again, this all depends on the type of disability that they have, their age, their county, and how much services they need in order to support their education. So the funding can be used for therapy, for tutoring, for curriculum, educational technology, and much, much more. Okay, so the purchasing guide for the unique abilities is a little bit more broad and includes more than the PEP because of the child's disability and needing more support for their education. And something different about this scholarship, different from the PEP, is that the funds can be used not only for home education, but it can also be used for private school. So you choose. But if a child is a public school student, this scholarship cannot be used. Your child does not qualify and is not eligible to receive this scholarship if they are a public school student. What is required is the same as the traditional homeschoolers. So a letter of intent to the district and the annual evaluation, which is what we spoke about prior, or what I spoke about prior about the binder and the crates and how I'm able to evaluate the child in that sense. Now, depending on the child's disability, they can be exempted from the annual evaluation. Step Up provides a form for you to fill out, as well as a medical doctor to be turned into Step Up, and they might be able to be exempted depending on their disability. Exempted from the annual evaluation is what I mean. And there is the QR code that I mentioned before, the 2024-2025 handbook. In this handbook, you will have the purchasing guide, or a list of items and things that you can use the funding for. You will also see a list of the qualifying disabilities, as well as a lot of more information about the scholarship. Now, again, we're in May of 2025, excuse me. So this handbook will be updated for the 2025-2026 school year, but this is what it is now. They have not finalized the new one, but if you want to take a look at it and get an idea, there's the QR code for you. So here's pretty much everything that I spoke about with your options, but kind of like in a comparison table, right? So we have the traditional home education, the personalized education plan, which is under the scholarship, and the unique abilities, which kind of overlaps scholarship and district. So again, with the traditional home education, it's self-funded, so you do not get any funds from the state. It's open to all Florida residents. You must have a Florida address. The letter of intent is required by the district. The annual evaluation is required by the district. And the accountability that you have as a traditional home education family would be the letter of intent and an annual evaluation. Now, the personalized education plan. The funding is about $8,000 per year. The eligibility is general education students, but a child with a disability can be eligible as well. They just won't have the opportunity to use the funding for therapy or educational technology and a few other things that the unique abilities funding can be used for. The funding is more limited with the personal education plan. The letter of intent is not required under PEP. The annual evaluation is not required under PEP. However, you will need to submit a student learning plan to Step Up, and it is a form that you fill out that is provided to you, and most of it is drop down, so it's not that difficult to fill out. You will have some paperwork to fill out if you want to be reimbursed for certain things, and you will have the accountability of your child taking an annual norm referenced assessment that was mentioned earlier in the video. And then you have the unique abilities. The unique ability scholarship, the funding varies depending on the disability of your child and the level of special education, as well as their age and where you live. So there's a few things that go into account as to the amount of funding that your child will get. It's about $9,000, give or take. A little less, probably a little bit more, depending on where you live and all those things that I mentioned before. So who's eligible? Students with qualifying disabilities. Again, those disabilities are listed in the handbook that was that I had the QR code in the previous slide. The letter of intent is required by the district. The annual evaluation is required by the district, but your child may be able to get exempted. And now your accountability for this scholarship is that you need your required diagnosis paperwork. This is for when you apply for the scholarship. When you apply for the scholarship, they ask you for different kinds of paperwork from the doctor, the child's 504 or IEP, and some other things as well. That is all in the handbook. So you are accountable for those things. You're also accountable for the letter of intent to the district. You're accountable for the reimbursement paperwork because this is a scholarship, and you're also accountable for the annual evaluation if applicable. Now, let me address a little bit about the reimbursement paperwork. You don't always have to um, submit reimbursement paperwork. If you decide to pay for a curriculum or for therapy or something like that without using the marketplace, which is what they use to purchase things and to find providers through Step Up, then you would submit the reimbursement paperwork. However, if you use the Scholar Shop, which is where you purchase things, or you use the platform to find a provider, then the reimbursement paperwork is not required. Okay, so this is just if you decide to use someone that is not a provider, or you decide to buy something that is not through what they call My Scholarship. Okay, I wanted to make that clear because the reimbursement paperwork is not always required. So how can I help you? I support many families. At this point, I've supported probably about 4 dozen families at this point, probably a little bit more than that. And I support them in ways where I consult and I mentor them. So I help them get started. I help them with the requirements that this video is about. I help them for applying for scholarships, curriculum planning, creating a schedule. You know, a lot of parents want to homeschool, and I think that's wonderful. But they don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. They don't know the legal requirements, all of that. And that's what I do. I hold your hand, we walk side by side, and I consult them and I mentor them. I consult them through getting started. I consult them through um, choosing curriculums and personalizing the learning of their children. What curriculum they want to use, what socialization opportunities they want to put them in. Um, and if they need other providers, if they feel like they need, art therapy or art classes or music or anything like that, I help them find those kind of providers to help them. Or if they feel like they need, um, just anything, educational service that I can't provide myself, I help them look for that. And I can help you too. I can also help you with curriculum and unit planning. So if your child wants to or has some sort of special need, or you feel like they learn better with tactile, or you think that uh, they learn better with in a specific way, I can help you build a lesson or a unit plan that's all incorporates that learning style or their learning style or their interest. If they want to read a specific book, I can help you put together a plan on how you can read that book with them and how you can address comprehension and language arts and things like that using that book. I also provide online tutoring, which to be honest is my favorite part. I get to work with the kids directly. And I provide the online tutoring for ages 5 through 12, reading, writing, math, and Spanish. And that's always fun. The Spanish is in groups. So that's always fun. And the reading, writing, and math, depending on your child's age, it would be individual or in groups. And I also provide homeschool testing. So if you'd say, Margie, my child doesn't really need tutoring, but I don't know where they're at and I don't know where to get started. Well, I can help you with a progress check. So I give them a really quick progress check, just checking to see where they're at as far as their skills and things like that. And they don't know, they don't even know they're doing a progress check because it's all games. It's all fun and games. They'll never know they're taking some sort of test. Um, and I give you a personalized plan and a personalized report on how they did and what I suggest. And I help you set goals for that, moving forward. I also provide, like I mentioned earlier in the video, an annual evaluation, the one that's required by the district, and also the one that's required by the personalized education plan scholarship. I can do both of those for you, being a certified teacher. A certified teacher, that gives me the opportunity to provide that service. And I can also provide one-time classes. So if your child is getting ready for the PEP test or getting ready for their annual evaluation, I can help prepare them for it. Um, I also do interest-based classes. So if your child is a little bit more interested in, let's say, bugs, then we can do some activities on bugs, and we can incorporate math and books and reading and art and all of that into their interest. And if that's something that you want me to do, I can do it with them. Or if you want me to design something for you and you do it at home, I can do that as well. Or if they need a little bit of reinforcement in their skills, like if you tell me, look, Margie, she's not really getting fractions very well, can you help me? Then I can either help you help them, meaning I can design something for them, and you do it at home, or I can teach you how to teach your child the fractions, for example, or I can do it myself and I can do that one-time class with them on whatever topic they're having a little bit of trouble on. So this is basically what I can provide you, um, and help you with um, as a homeschool educational service provider. So this is Florida in a nutshell, how to homeschool, what do I do, what I can offer you, and I'd be more than happy to offer you and help you and guide you and link arms with you as you go through your homeschooling journey. So if you're interested in a freebie, I do have a weekly newsletter that I send with some awesome stuff. I send a lot of encouragement. I send blogs. I send book lists. I send many freebies few times a year, probably once a month at least. I send a free activity for the kids, which I love. And right now I have a freebie that is really good. I actually love it. It's the ultimate guide for grown-ups. It's nurturing your child's confidence. Because as we all know, if your child is not confident in who they are and what they know, then it's hard to get them to perform academically. So if that's something that you're interested in learning about, and having a printable where they have daily habit checklists, some affirmation cards, a gratitude journal, and a guide for you to know when to look for a tutor, when to contact an educator to help you. All of that is in there. It helps them conquer their academics with resilience, which is so important nowadays. So there's your QR code to get on the email list, or the link is right there, and I'll also put it in the description of the video. And we've come to the end. Thank you so much for your attention during this video. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm Margie Figueroa, and there's my phone number. If you need any help with anything, I'm going to go ahead and say it. 786-300-1314 is my phone number. Feel free to call or text, whatever is easier for you. My email is there as well, margie@funshineeducation.com. My LinkedIn, as well as my website, where you'll see all the services that I kind of went over already, www.funshineeducation.com. There you can see all the reviews from different parents and, kind of our framework here at Funshine Educational Services, as well as learn a little bit more about me. You can find it all there. And then if you want to connect on the socials, here's my Instagram handle at funshine_edu. We can connect there and you can see all the awesome things that I do on a daily basis. And so, yeah, thank you so much for your attention during this video. And I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments and I'll answer. If you want to contact me about my services, I'll also have my contact information in the description. Thank you so much for your attention. Looking forward to working with all of you.